You'll never know everything. And that's what's so intriguing about winemaking is I don't care how much you learn.
Yeah, right.
There's always something more.
There's something more.
And if you're a curious person, that keeps you coming back.
Sit back and grab a glass. It's Wine Talks with Paul K.
Hey, welcome to Wine Talks with Paul K. And we are in studio today in beautiful Southern California, about to have a conversation with Kelly E. Carter. Introductions in just a second. Hey, have a listen to a show that I just released with Zara Muradian, and she is head of a foundation in Armenia, bringing Armenian wines to the world, and it's a government foundation that is trying to get exposure for this incredibly old industry in Armenia. But not while we're here. We're here to talk to Kelly E. Carter. She's the founder of the Napa Valley Noir, as well as the New York Times bestselling author, and she claims herself to be the unofficial mayor of Yountville. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's such a pleasure to be sitting here with
It's
you.
amazing timing that we got this work out.
I know, right?
And I'm so happy you're back in LA in your old stomping ground.
Yes, I don't get home often. It's my second time here this year. My friends are like, you should come home more often. I said, you should come up to Napa more often.
Did you grow up in LA then?
I did. I grew up in Windsor Hills, which is like the Black Beverly Hills, and my neighbors were Ike and Tina Turner and Ray Charles.
Wow.
And
I don't even know
dating
where Windsor
myself
Hills
right
is.
now.
I mean, I was born in Inglewood, so you go.
Yeah, so right there. Yeah, so
It's right there,
just north of Inglewood.
My dad was president of the Lions Club, president of the Chamber. He had a pharmacy on Van Ness in Manchester.
Yeah, because you had all of those doctors as clients. I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing tastings for them, right?
That's how he started. The company was after we moved to the South Bay on Tuesdays. He in that picture right there, he was holding tastings, and the doctors would support him. But back in Inglewood in 1959 or 60, there weren't, we didn't taste a whole lot of wine down there. But
I mean, I came along right after that, and I was drinking Manischewitz.
yeah, beautiful.
As a kid, because my grandmother's sister, my great aunt.
It's pretty amazing what's happened there, because I learned how to ride a bike at Hollywood Park before the Forum was there.
Yeah.
My first lemonade stand was on Manchester near Prairie, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then it got a little dilapidated, a little. And now it's come back.
Oh my gosh, with SoFi and Intuit.
Yeah.
And even last night I was at 1010 Wine Bar, which is by Inglewood, right at La Brea and Centinela. And two black women, two sisters own it.
I've been trying to get them on the show.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Would you
I'm gonna
arrange
make that. Yes.
I reached out to them a little bit, and it was a little while ago with the
Triple AV.
yeah.
Association of African American
Did you
Vintners.
know the chairman grew up at West 82nd Street, and I grew up on West 84th Street.
No way.
And he was born 1 year behind me.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
Who's that? Which one?
I knew you were going to challenge me.
I
can't remember his
know.
name.
Sorry. It's like, but who's it? Because they have, so they have the founders. They've got Mac from Texas.
Max just retired.
Yes, he did. Vision Cellars, which is amazing.
Right.
It's like,
And then the number two guy.
oh, well, you have Phil Long.
Phil, that's it.
Okay.
How embarrassing. I'm going to have to cut that out so in case Phil listens. But Phil and I
in
grew
case
up,
Phil is listening.
we were neighbors.
Phil, you should be listening.
We were neighbors that part of our lives, and we were only 1 year apart. He went to Daniel Freeman Elementary like I
really?
did. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
My dad would take me I'd go to work with my father. I'd stamp brochures at Manchester and Van Ness, and then he'd take me, the driver, the prescription driver would drive me to school at Daniel Freeman. So anyway, so we're like kindred spirits here.
Yes.
So tell me then, how'd you end up in Northern California in the wine trade?
Oh my gosh, it was a long route. Had I known I could just move from LA up to Napa, I would have done so. But I went the long way, and I went through Italy. And so my background, you talk about the Forum.
Yeah.
And so I was the first female to cover the Lakers. I started off as a sports writer and decided fourth grade to become a sports writer. Fourth grade to become a journalist, sixth grade to become a sports writer. In college at USC, I set my goal to cover the Lakers. And at the age of 28, it was my fourth job by then, I got the job to cover the Lakers.
Wow, how incredible.
And so I've always kind of been I set my eyes on something, that's what I'm going to do. I always said I would only cover sports until I turned 35 because I didn't want to be this old woman in the locker room trying to, kind of flirt with
But
guys.
you were in the locker room
I was in
anyway.
the locker room. Yes, of course. If you're going to be a sports writer, you have to go in for me. But
Yeah, that's funny.
I was always professional. I
Yes.
would tell the guys, hey, if I see something I've never seen before, that's what I'm going to write about. Forget the game. And so that would, put them at ease because there weren't a lot of women in the locker room then.
No, that was probably cutting edge almost.
Yes, because that was 91 when I started covering the Lakers.
How did they receive that? Were they like, yeah, yo, go girl?
Well, I remember when I was a student at USC and we could cover whatever we wanted to in one sports writing class. And I picked the Lakers and they treated me like a regular member of the media. But I remember they were playing the Spurs one night and George Gervin, the Iceman. And so I could hear him in the shower. There's a woman in the locker room. Bring her back in the shower. I was
no.
Really? Seriously? But because I'm so tall, 6'1", so the guys didn't really mess with me. And
that's really interesting.
And so that really helped a lot.
Yeah.
And there were some, I covered Major League Baseball. Reggie Jackson was not always very nice. And so, but I would tease him about it later as I got to know him. Once I started covering the NFL for USA Today, and after the games, I'd go to Carmen Policy's box he'd have a little post something. And so Reggie would be in there. He was retired by then, but
How interesting.
Yeah, but I've got a lot of stories.
But you were destined to be in journalism. Is that why you went to USC?
Yes, because it was the best journalism school.
And where did that sort of, affinity come from as growing up in
Just
Windsor?
growing up, I loved to read and write, and I just started writing when I was in the 4th grade. I still have what I wrote about someone's house. My neighbors across the street, they used to decorate their house. It was hideous.
Oh.
Absolutely hideous.
You wrote about this hideous thing.
But I wrote something very nice, and I still have that because I'm working on my memoir, and so I have a lot of material.
That's so interesting.
So so I covered sports, and then I changed to entertainment, and then changed to travel writing. And when I changed to travel writing, so then I moved to Italy and plan to stay in Italy the rest of my life. I moved at the age of 40.
What part?
Florence for first, and I always knew that would be my starter city. And then I wanted to find a small place on the sea where nobody spoke English. Ended up going to Positano, where everybody speaks English. And but I stayed in Positano for 15 months. I was after a year in Florence.
Did you learn Italian?
Sì, non parlo italiano, non molto bene, but abbastanza bene.
Italiano.
Sì.
That's very cool.
So, and after that, people said, why didn't you stay in Italy? I'm like, well, I thought I'd get married. I couldn't find a count I could count on, with those cheating Italian men.
A count I could count on.
Couldn't find a count I could count on.
Not even on Sesame Street.
No.
The count. Okay,
So I ended up going to New York. And that was really to get my travel writing career going because I needed to meet those travel editors. And so once I met them in person, and then I said, okay, because I wanted to do luxury travel. I could do budget travel all on my own, right?
That, right.
Right. So
that's interesting, though, because I was just going to ask this question because it was off script.
I know, we have the script here. We haven't even started.
I never even use these things, but this whole movement of AI, and we were just talking with Josh in the engineers booth about how AI has been changing media and changing all kinds of things.
Wow.
But
yes.
there's obviously has a bias and it doesn't have common sense. It would seem like travel would be one of the least available opportunities for AI to invade because you really have to have the experience of doing it. You have to have these intimate experiences when you're traveling to write about.
Well, also, and you have to know the latest. Because sometimes I'll type something in chat and ask it just to see what it tells me about Napa. It's giving me places that have closed, places that are under construction, even and visit Robert Mondavi. Well, Mondavi's under construction. It'll be open again next year.
That's true.
I mean, there are just some little things they just don't know.
Yeah.
And there's no way to keep up on everything.
But you couldn't get that feeling that comes from your perspective through AI. And it just seems like one of those areas that's not going to probably ever intrude on.
I've seen a lot of travel stories written by AI. And even when I was working at Alpha Omega, and obviously I had a Google search on set up, and so every time Alpha Omega was mentioned. And one day, this was, 3 years ago, and this travel story came through, and I'm like, God, this is the most poorly written article I've ever read, and it's all incorrect.
Oops.
And then we realized it's like, a bot wrote this. This was not done by a real person.
We were just at the Villaggio version of the Yountville estate. The
Yes.
gentleman bought them, Jabara bought
Gary,
them.
yes.
And they were pouring Alpha. It was a tasting night. Thursday was tasting nights, and the Alpha Omega girl came.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a tasting room gal, and I loved the wines. I thought
the
I've
wines.
never had them before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
After all these years doing this.
The wine's really good.
So how did you go from travel to wine? I mean, there's
the
obviously
travel is part of wine.
there's an
that
affinity to
is
that, right.
part of it. And even when I covered entertainment, I was working at People magazine, and then I went back to USA Today where I'd covered sports and started doing entertainment there. And part of that is covering Hollywood. I was always at fancy dinners, and I was always invited to a lot of places. And, so drinking a lot of champagne, drinking a lot of wine. But it was really even going back to when I covered the Lakers, and the Lakers trainer at the time, Gary Beatty. And he's of Italian descent. And he would say, Kelly, I see you drinking white wine, because I traveled with the team for 4 years.
Wow.
And he said, you should drink red wine. It's healthier for you. And so Gary got me into red wine.
When do you think that was? When?
Oh, this was in the 90s.
Wow. So just after like the morally safer 1990s.
Yeah, it was like 91 through 95 I covered the team.
So he had already bought off on this idea that...
Yes. And so that got me into red wine more so. And then when I covered the NFL, and I covered the 6 most Western teams for USA Today, so I would come up to Napa because the Raiders had training camp in Napa. And so then I go to the French Laundry. It wasn't quite then the French Laundry that it is now, but I would go and do my wine tastings. And I still remember like the first great bottle for me at that time. My first bottle that I purchased was like a 1994 Camus that I thought was just excellent. And I didn't understand about vintages or so. And I went back to purchase it later, and they're like, oh, we're all out of that vintage. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have any? I don't understand. But that's a little I didn't know. It's like, once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
I should have bought more than one bottle. And then, but that gets you into everything. And just, so that just built. Well, so when I lived in Italy and just going around to Tuscany and various wine regions.
The intellectual curiosity to wine?
No, it's more the taste.
The taste.
It seriously was a taste.
I was trying to set you up for something.
I know. I had some great experience, even going to Bordeaux and some of the chateaus that I went to, and I'm just like, I had wine, older than me, and I should be like so impressed. But I wasn't paying attention to the production. I really didn't care about that. It wasn't until I moved to Napa that I really gained an appreciation for winemaking.
So interesting.
And then once I started working at Alpha Omega, I was director of communications. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to work harvest. So I'm on the sorting table. I'm out in the vineyards. I'm picking grapes. I'm, like this with the vineyard manager because I want to learn. And then I really got into it. Then I did my WSET studies and just knocked out 1, 2, 3. Because people said, why are you starting at 1? You've now been in the wine industry 4 years.
Which is like red wine is.
Red wine, exactly. But I wouldn't build a house starting on the 2nd floor. So I wasn't going to build my wine education either, starting at 2. I didn't mind starting at 1 because it even gets my mind just thinking a certain way.
So when you do, we're going to talk about the tours here, what Napa Valley Noir is, but you hit a very important part of what we talk about and what consumers hear, and that is how much education do you recommend, or how much excitement do you expect to get out of your clients, and do you promote that idea, or as I am mostly, hey, you get out of what you want to put into it, and you're never going to learn it all. It's impossible.
You're right.
But there is an intellectual stimulation and an emotional and romantic stimulation to the subject. So how do you deal with that with your clients? I mean, what, you just show them a good time and let them walk their own path?
No, I really want to partner with wineries that have a great story. I don't want the story to be such and such made so much money in wine, in tech, that they just came to Napa and opened a winery. It's like,
or a surgeon or a restaurant.
Anybody can do that. I love stories. I went to Larkmead for the first time recently in Calistoga. Beautiful story, and with females, and I was just like, so this is enchanting.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. I love stories because at the heart, that's what wine should be, centered around stories. I think that's what we have to get back to and
I
really help the industry get back to what it was before.
completely agree. And that picture is 1975.
Hmm.
And that's what we sold. That's all there was stories, because the idea of corporate wine and
Yeah.
the idea of bringing in 50 cent a liter junk from Spain and putting it in a bottle with a fancy label didn't exist.
Right.
This was all earnest storytelling from
Yeah.
immigrants coming to Napa or wherever they're coming from.
Yeah, I think you have to go out in the vineyard. I like taking clients to places where they can go in the vineyard and they can taste the grapes if it's harvest time, or even going into the cellar and just having some kind of backstory to it. Even though when I started drinking wine, yes, that didn't always interest me, but I think that that's the way you keep people.
Do you think that's a natural progression?
It is. It is. And that's what I love
first
about
glass.
Yeah, I love about wine, and you mentioned and you touched on it, is you'll never know everything. And that's what's so intriguing about winemaking is I don't care how much you learn.
Yeah, right.
There's always something more.
There's something more.
And if you're a curious person, that keeps you coming back.
Is that part of, part of this part of my career, my life, this podcast has stimulated that thought process and that interest and that academic and intellectual and romantic part of wine. I'm totally with you on the storytelling. Is that something that motivates you every day? Like you get up and you go, oh, wow, what am I going to learn today? Or what am I going to see today? Or if you have a client group coming in, what am I going to show them? And what's the point of all this?
Yes. And even when I go out, I'm invited to a lot of places. Obviously, everybody is looking for business right now in Napa and Sonoma. And so I'm invited to a lot of places to come and taste. But I have to decide where am I going to go. Otherwise, all I'm doing is, trying to get to your number of over 100,000 tastings, which isn't going to happen. But I don't want someone, and we make these single vineyard cabs from so-and-so. Like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I want more than we make these cabs or so. And I noticed, Napa's problem is Napa has not had to market itself. And now it has to market itself.
well, we were just talking about the expense of coming to Napa, and I didn't finish my thought, and I'll finish it off camera so we don't embarrass anybody. But
yes, we know. And that's a challenge. Napa, I get a lot of inquiries from first timers. People are very intrigued by Napa right now, especially African Americans, there's the tourism, Visit Napa Valley released statistics last year, and the growth with African American visitors to Napa Valley, it's tripled.
Wow, that's great.
And so, but it's a whole thing of bringing people in. Everyone's not going to come in and buy $500 bottles of wine.
And
that takes a while. And you may never get to that point.
No.
It's a lot. So wineries have to figure out, okay, we have to be okay with people paying a little less. They're going to level up as people learn more. You find your comfort level. That's one thing I always ask when I start off talking to a new client. And it's on my intake form. What is your bottle price comfort level? And it's $50 to $100.
You think they're telling you the truth? Like they want to say a 50 to
I
100.
know, no one
really...
wants to say, but you'd be surprised how many people pick that 50 to 100.
Yeah.
And then the other category is 100 to 150, 150 to 250, 250 plus. But you have to be very honest with me with what your budget is. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy.
No, right.
Because I'm going to show you the best time.
I mean, my specialty at the club was $10 to $18. I mean, that's what I lived in. And,
right.
That marketplace has changed. Let me ask you the question. Something happened. I forgot what social upheaval we had. Maybe it was the early 2000s. And I reached out to the AAAV, the Association of African American Vintners, to see, I forgot what my inquiry was, but there were only 5 members at that time.
Oh my gosh. And there are so many.
So it was like maybe 2 or 3 years after it was formed. And then,
yes.
And then now there's like 200 plus, right?
Right.
I even went to the tasting. Did you go to the tasting in Napa at the Oxbow?
I missed the one
next Oxbow?
Actually had to come to. I'll be at the next one I'll be at the one in April.
I tasted every single wine there.
You did.
Yes.
I had to miss.
I was
down
impressed.
here in LA actually.
But let's talk about the culturally. You came from Inglewood, around Inglewood. I was born there. You just went to 1010, the wine bar there, which I've known it to be in existence for many years already.
Well, they've had what did they just have? It's been open, 3 years, 4
Yeah,
years?
so
I can't
that's
remember.
a functional business now. It's
Oh my gosh,
lasted.
it was packed. It was like last night, and I had to, run by, and Leslie, the owner, was in. She said, "Oh, you're in town,"
So
give her a hug.
is wine culturally new to the African American base, or is it
Pretty much so.
people are?
Yes, I think it is. And I mean, obviously, there are people who. Most of us didn't grow up with wine cellars. Like I said, my parents drank spirits, and my great aunt who lived with us drank Manischewitz, and so
Well, that was fermented grape juice anyway.
so I drank that. But generally, it's new, and it's aided by the hip hop community, the athletes, in particular NBA players, people like
Big time right
LeBron,
now.
made it very sexy.
Yeah.
Even Kobe Bryant, Kobe came up to Napa. I blended wine with him at the Napa Valley Reserve.
How cool!
Oh my gosh! And he was doing a promotion. Hublot, the watch company, had come out with a new watch for him, the Mamba. And so they did the unveiling at the Napa Valley Reserve and did a wine blending session. And I told Kobe, I said, "Oh, you should move up here after you retire." And I was trying to get him up here.
Well, there's I was talking to the Somm at Boa Steakhouse, which is in Culver City or in that area, and he said that it's almost nightly on a home game. If depending on when it ends, they get a phone call from LeBron or somebody. They say, "Hey, pull out the Lafite or pull out whatever they're going to drink,
it's
and
like
get a couple of ribeyes going, and we're going to be there in 10 minutes."
You see what these guys are drinking. I mean, Jimmy Butler with the Warriors, his cellar's Sassicaia.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Wow.
And there are a lot of hip hop guys in music, and they have podcasts, and they're really talking about some of these ultra premium wines.
That's really interesting.
And so that has really helped. And that all stems back from Greg Popovich, who was the San Antonio Spurs coach, big wine guy. And so he would talk to, Tim Duncan, different players about wine. Tony Parker, didn't mean the same Tim. I don't know if Tim's right, but Tony Parker,
owns a
for
winery
sure.
in Côte d'Aron, I think, or Chantal de Pop or something.
Tony.
Tony does, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that what spawned Napa Valley Noir?
In a sense, it spawned it in a sense, but also what I saw a lot of people, I saw the Black tourism growing in Napa, but no one really reaching out to them to let them know what actually is possible. We come up and we go to Brown, and I love Brown. They have their downtown tasting room, which is limited in size. They did used to see visitors at their estate, but it wasn't. And so it's like, okay, you've got to do more. You've got to get out, and there are wine dinners you can have, and a cave, and lunch in a vineyard, and you can have access to winery owners and winemakers, and we have the money for that. When you're talking about access, that generally comes with a purchase expectation.
That's
someone's not going to show up and you're buying a $50 one bottle of wine for 6 people. You're not going to get a winery owner to come out and, sit down with you.
You set that stage before you do these things?
Yes, you have to.
Yes.
It's managing expectations on both ends. You don't want to put the client in an uncomfortable position, and you certainly don't want to ask something of a winery owner or winemaker if you have to make it worth their time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah.
I mean, it is time, and time is money. And
yes. And sometimes people don't mind popping by to say hello because they know it's all about that interaction.
Right.
And that's what's going to keep people coming back. Oh my gosh, I had the best experience with so-and-so, or I had a chance to meet, so they may not sit down and have a tasting, but those certainly come by and say hello.
Well, you don't think your friends in that video that saw Thomas Keller?
Yeah, I made Thomas Keller magically appear.
Yeah, so they're going to go to Bouchon and they're going to go to French Laundry or Ad Hoc or whatever they're doing.
But I would see that when I worked at Alpha Omega, and the owners, Robin and Michelle Baggett, as Robin would love to, they just live down the street from the winery. Robin loved to just walk around on the terrace. Hi, I'm Robin. I own Alpha Omega, sit down and have a glass of Chardonnay with them or something. And those are the kind of things that stick with people. And it also shows that it's not a corporation that owns a business, and it's not Constellation and Treasury and everything. And so when you know that
Snoop Dogg's Cali Red.
yeah, but those are things you have to.
But that's an
kinda
interesting
do.
thought. You triggered a thought because in the 80s when Pat Teray brought Wolfgang Puck out of the back of the kitchen in Ma Maison and brought him to
Yes.
the front, and that became hospitality.
Yeah.
And I love this idea, what you're doing, because I believe in, like you do, in that enotourism, experiential tourism is where the wine trade has to go back to. This little patch here, and I've told this story to 1,000 times to the listeners, so maybe they can turn it off for a second, but this is Les Amis de Vin. It was 150 chapters in America, and you would go, and Mondavi would speak, and Lawrence Bowser, Robert Bowser, and Harry Waugh, and people in Palos Verdes, where my dad's store was, would go to dinner, and then they would taste Mondavi's wine, and then that was indelible.
Right.
That conversation was indelible, and that those tastings. And I think you're on the right track in that regard, and that we need to bring that experiential part back.
Right. Yes, you have to, because that's what people are going to remember, and that's what they're going to post. We're a social media world.
That's new, right? That's something
and
newer.
people are paying attention. You know, they plan their whole trips around TikTok.
Yeah, it's true though. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And so they'll go with you. You're going to take them around to what? What can I expect? I'm going to call you tomorrow and I'm coming to town. What are you going to do for me?
I am going. So I just had a client fly. She left yesterday. Now, this was a lady who had never been to Napa before, traveling solo from North Carolina,
Wow.
which I thought was very
Crazy.
interesting.
Yeah.
Even when her inquiry came in and it was a Hotmail email address, I'm like, oh, this is a fake. She just wants to know what my prices are. Nobody uses
That's
Hotmail.
funny. Yeah, Hotmail, AOL.
Yeah. These are red flags for me, but
That's
that taught
hilarious.
me too to take everybody seriously, because she committed immediately. Some people, they see my rates and they're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you never hear from them again. She's like, sign me
It's
up.
business.
Yeah, it's business. You're not going to get everybody, and that's fine. But what I did for her, and she didn't need all 4 days curated. She wanted one day. It maybe did 1.5 days. One was hot air balloon that didn't go up because we've had some kind of bad weather. But even a place where I didn't curate for her. She just happened to mention she was going because she was staying downtown. So the day she got in, so she said, oh, I'm going to go to Brown and I'm going to go to Celadon for dinner. And I said, okay. And so I sent an email to my contact at Brown. I said, I have a client coming and she's coming in on her own. I didn't book her, but she'll be there. He said, oh yeah, I see her name. She's coming at 4:30. And I said, okay. I said, just give her an extra pour or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And then I get an email from her 2 hours later. She said, oh, thank you so much. They gave me a complimentary experience and a charcuterie plate. And I'm just like, oh, wow.
That's great.
Thank you. So those are things, and I can't always do that, but I appreciate that Brown did that for me. And I have 8 clients going to them in 2 weeks or so.
Well, they appreciate the business is business, right? I mean,
Yeah,
at some point.
Yes, exactly. And it's just keeping them fresh. But it could
So
be.
if I'm going to call you, everything's custom. I
try
tell you
to-
what I want, and you.
It depends. I'd like to know what someone's palate is. I was someone referred me to a colleague. The guy was coming to Napa to speak at a convention. A guy from Texas, wine drinker. And I get on the phone with him. I said, so you love Napa's big red cabs? He said, no, I hate them. I'm like, oh, shit.
Oops.
Really? Okay, let me see. Okay, what do you like? And he said, Bordeaux blends. He said, left bank, Bordeaux. So I said, okay, let me figure out what am I going to do. And he was coming. It was a very short amount of time. So a couple of places, and he only had Sunday to taste. A couple of places I would have sent him were closed on Sundays. Others were booked. And then I said, oh, use some connections, got him into Assommé on Atlas Peak,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
that Heidi Barrett has an
Yeah,
interest
yeah.
in. They pour so many different types of wines.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them what his palate was and his traveling partner's palate. They bought a lot of wine.
Wow, great.
Contacted Alpha Omega, where I used to work. And even though they're known for their single vineyards and everything,
Big
but I
cabs.
know that they do a left bank. And I know all the wine, I know their SKUs. So I asked Eric, the tasting room manager, I said, hey, can you put together a flight just with these wine? He said, sure. And so those are the connections that I have where I can contact a winery and say, okay, don't pour this, but pour this, and this is what they like. And so
I'm interested to know, and I want to talk about the book, actually.
I did stop and bring one of my books. People still think that's me on the front.
So what is
This
this? Oh, this was with Venus Williams. I
This
read
is
about
the New
this.
York Times bestseller.
Yeah. And when did that come out?
This came out in 2010. And it's a book about really what sports teaches you. And we had some really heavy hitters interviewed for this book. Everybody had their own chapter. So you have Sir Richard Branson, Ken Chenault, who's the CEO of American Express at the time, Bill Clinton, Phil Knight, started Nike,
Yeah.
Marcus Samuelsson, Meg Whitman, Jack
Wow, what a
Welch,
lineup.
Vera Wang.
So, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, the publisher came to me.
Oh, well, that would be one inspiration.
But I was trying to, I'd met the publisher at a seminar for secrets of book publishing or something. I'm pitching I just moved from Italy to New York. And so I'm trying to write my memoir about my 2 years living in Italy. And so she was kind of interested, but then she had me in, anyway, months later, she came back to me and she said, hey, I think I have a first great book project for you. Because writing a memoir, and I've been a magazine writer and a journalist, a newspaper writer, it's hard to write a memoir,
I would
to
think
finish.
so. That's actually one of the questions. Is like,
yeah,
how do you balance?
It is very hard. So this book is great because it's 46 people who were interviewed. They all have their own chapter. And the first part of the book is Venus. I would write the stories, send them to Venus. She would write about what resonated with her, and write how come she wanted to become a businesswoman while she was still playing.
Mm-hmm.
Things that her parents taught her.
Wow.
So the book is
Interesting.
really about the lessons that you learn from playing sports that help make you a success in life.
In Compton.
Yeah, exactly. Growing up in Compton, Venus was 10 years old when I first found out about her. And I was covering tennis.
Is there something on the horizon that you're writing now that's not related to editorials? And
a couple of things. So I'm working on my memoir, Bellini for one. And so that it's based around my time living in Italy.
Bellini for one. I like
Bellini
that.
for one, because I'm a solo person. I'm always at a bar by myself, eating by myself. Bellini for one, table
What an
full.
interesting perspective.
Yeah. And it's my life, but it's more, I thought it was enough to just write these great stories, kind of like A Year in Provence, which I love that book. And people said, no, to write a memoir, you have to develop the character and there has to be an arc and they have to go through something. I said, I really didn't change when I lived in Italy. I think living in Italy taught me things about myself, but it wasn't until I moved to Napa that I really changed, I think, and became the person who I am today. So now I'm bringing the memoir all the way to Napa. So it's a lot of cutting down. No one wants to read. It's not an autobiography. I don't want to bore people.
Do you think you need? I always ask this question of winemakers because I think it's an important question. If you're making wine in Italy or making wine in Australia, and then you come to Napa and you've now made wine in many parts of the world before you settle at your final career spot. But I wonder from a life perspective standpoint, you don't think, you said you weren't sure that you learned more about yourself a little bit in Italy, but it wasn't until Napa that you landed there. But it would seem to me what a great perspective change it would have to live in a foreign country and then to learn about yourself and then have a chance to expand the boundaries a little bit.
It does teach you about yourself because you can see how much you want to grow. Learning a new language at the age of 40. People thought it was crazy.
It's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And just
our brains are pretty fixed. In that
right, exactly. But it's part of that. It's part of that growth. And I thought I would loved, the Renaissance period. Then after a while, I got bored with looking at. I love Botticelli, and it's like the art, Venus butterfly and everything. It's like, but after a while, I said, everything looks the same. I don't see any people of color, and I know there are people of color. We've been whitewashed out of everything. I got tired of looking at
In Florence.
I Renaissance, yeah, and I lived across the street from the Uffizi. I lived on Via de Bardi, so incredible apartment with fresco ceilings and right on the river. And
Well, I can see your intensity of just talking about it.
oh
It's
my
so
gosh,
great.
it was incredible experience, and I would move back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We're going
think-
to Rome in 2 weeks. We got invited to meet the Pope.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're canonizing an Armenian bishop, and somehow, I don't know, my friend said, hey, do you want to go? You got 2 weeks to make it. We're going in 2 weeks.
Okay,
You
I'm
wanna go?
available. Yes, I'm available.
You ready to go? My daughter is a French trained, and my friends are going to give me crap about saying this again, but she's a French trained boulanger, and I'm saying this for the perspective of living in a foreign country and then learning the culture, because I think that's the most important part is like, how do we, talk about the wine and culture now, but she had an apartment on the 6th floor, which used to be for the housekeepers of those old buildings. The room was smaller than this stage, the set here. And as far as she was concerned, she had an apartment in Paris. I couldn't even go in the room. I was so claustrophobic. I couldn't even stay in there, But her perspective was, I have an apartment in Paris. And so she got to live that life for a few
Right.
months and walk the streets, and she would bake bread, and then the whole thing. And I think that's so culturally rounding.
Oh my goodness, it's an amazing experience. When I lived in Italy, and it takes you a while, especially in Florence, before they work up. They think you're a tourist for a while. I remember when they really accepted me, and it was a place I would buy my produce.
Mm.
And so
Wow.
they would see me come in, I get my head of lettuce, da da da. And one day the owner reached down and he pulled out a beautiful selection for me.
Wow.
I'm like, I've made it.
Wow. Yeah. You really
Now
arrived,
they know
haven't you?
that, yes, I am a real local here. And so,
How exciting.
yeah.
Because I sat down. My father spoke French. He spoke 5 languages, actually. And before he passed away, I thought, I'm going to learn French for him to just talk with him. And so I did. And what that does, as you with your Italian, it expands your horizons culturally, because you can't learn a language without learning the culture along
Right.
the way. You have to study Napoleon a little bit
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to understand the French culture. You have to understand the Renaissance. You have to understand the Revolution. You have to understand all this stuff in order to sort of get a perspective on the language.
Yeah.
And here you are getting a special tray of vegetables from the
Yeah.
that's like totally arriving.
I know. It's like, yeah, because otherwise it's, who knows what they're going to, you just get to pick whatever.
Do you think Americans, you'll be in the Napa wine trade, and you hit it on the head. There's the famed surgeons and the restaurateurs and the government contractors that made their money, and they went up and opened the big chateau and realized, I'm a farmer now,
Yeah.
and this is really hard, and I can't make $1.
Right.
Do you think there's a lot of that?
There is a lot of that, but it teaches you, you see where you rank, and you're not in charge. Mother Nature is in charge of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to accept that. It's a tough life being a farmer. I gained so much, and I don't garden or anything like that. I tell people, it's like, I don't cook, I make reservations, but what a respect I have for the farming community,
Yeah.
our farm workers.
Well,
And-
the true passion. I sent a young girl that used to be an intern here to Bordeaux this last summer. She was a Cornell Enology student, and we got her an internship in Bordeaux on the left bank, Chateau Bailly. And she goes, Uncle Paul, I don't want to work in the vineyard. And that's what they're going to ask me to do. I said, look, girl, I go, if you're going to be in the wine business, you're going to be in the vineyard.
Right.
This is where it happens.
Yes.
You're going to be a farmer, and then all the rest of it's going to be, the fun, the part you think is going to be fun is really sex for the box office at this point. You're
Right.
you're going to have to learn how to tend. And she started in the vineyard at the internship, and she texted me. She goes, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
How, and I haven't had a chance to completely wrap up with her, but she came away with this incredible insight into what wine is.
Right. You really gain an appreciation for every glass,
Yeah, which in the
every
vineyard.
sip. It's a lot that goes into it. And
So your daily routine in Napa is organizing trips,
organizing
writing.
trips, reaching out to people, because as much as I purposely named my company, I wanted the name Noir in the company to reflect, let my people know that there is a face looking out for them. But I always tell people it's not a limitation.
No, right. Well,
And
that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, because I've
You would
had
think that.
some of my corporate clients, Todd's, the Italian fashion house, which goes back to a relationship that I developed when I lived in Italy. Mohawk, which is a global flooring leader.
Yeah, that's right. They're the clients of yours?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
My friend's in flooring. That's why I know this.
Oh, okay. So nobody knows Mohawk. You really have to be like, they did $10 billion in sales last
it's a
year.
big company.
And
I know.
and I curated experiences for them. They were blown away.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
There was a woman, maybe you've met her, Joanne Dupuis. You ever heard of her?
No.
She's like 95, maybe 97 now.
Okay.
You should listen to her podcast.
Oh, okay.
One of the first California enotourism people.
Oh, really?
She was responsible for taking Stephen Spurrier around to Freemark Abbey and Chateau Montelena and all those places to find the wines for the Judgment of Paris.
Yeah.
And she was the first woman to ever speak in front of the Napa Valley Vintners Association.
Okay.
Like Brother Timothy
Yeah.
and Louis Martini and all those guys.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really a cool story. Actually.
So she has a podcast now.
No, she's been on the show.
Oh, I was going to say, if she's like 95 and has that energy to do what you're doing.
I'm going to
there.
get you the book. She wrote a book called The Rest of the Story, and it was written after Bottle Shock came out to prove that most of Bottle Shock was kind of hocus pocus.
Right.
And she was there.
This is what really happened.
So I know there's lots of competition for enotourism, and I think it's
there's
a huge
lot
part of it.
But everybody has their own connections and everything. And, one of the people who's been so instrumental in me getting to where I am, getting off the ground successfully, would be viewed as my competitor.
Yeah, right.
But she gave me my first client, and she called me 2 weeks before I was ready to launch. She's like, Kelly, I've got too much business. Can you take a client?
Wow.
And she's like, are you ready? Sure, coach, put me in.
I can do it. A lot of
I had to
camaraderie
book,
there.
book a private chef and, and it was like, oh.
There's a lot of camaraderie amongst the enotourists in tourism
For the most
companies.
part, yeah. There's only been one person who I reached out to and said, oh, I'd love to get together with you. It's like, didn't hear. But it's not to, we're sending people to a lot of the same places, but it's what you do for that person. What else you do? It's going that extra step. And that's when you have to find out everything you can about a client and go that extra step to make them feel like a VIP.
We're almost out of time, if you can believe it, 'cause there's so much more to talk about. We have to do it twice, so I'll do it when I come to Napa and Yountville. But there's a whole issue right now in the trade. Of course, wine sales are down. You've got the Gen Zers, and there's a million reasons. Social marketing is imploding. There's just all kinds of problems with the trade. I'm a romanticist. I think that the ebbs and flows, and it's going to happen. Things will change again. But do you see that in enotourism in Napa Valley right now, that there's a less interest by generations or just by the cost? What is it?
I don't think there's less interest. The interest is there. It's a cost that is really prohibitive for a lot of people. Now, some of the people don't know if they're going to wake up and have a job the next day.
That's true.
And so they're booking very last minute, even with, I know one property manager. And so she'll get a last minute booking for a house for 10 people because people just don't know if they can.
It's true.
They don't know what they're going to have. People are drinking less. I had an inquiry from one client. It was going to be five couples flying private, just coming up for 2 days. They don't drink wine. They want to go to the French Laundry and went all wellness. And they wanted to go. So I curated this whole
wow,
thing.
that's
Not everybody's drinking wine these days. But what Napa Valley offers is tremendous wellness. And you can go bike riding in the vineyards. You can do olive oil tastings. You can go to Calistoga and do mud baths. And there are all these different things that you can do. And they didn't even want to do, because I was going to set up a tasting to do something with not de-alcoholized wines, which I drink. So I know, you cringe.
Are you kidding me?
There are some good ones. There are. They have some good ones from Germany,
Yeah,
from
I
Spain.
suppose.
I'm still trying to find a good one from Napa.
Well, you know the process, right? It's kind of a disgusting process, but apparently there's been some new molecular difference processes that have changed.
Don't tell me how the
What-
hot dog
what
is
those-
made.
Yeah,
I'm just going to
I don't know
enjoy
it
my
either.
hot dog.
But when they pull the alcohol out, it pulls out all kinds of stuff, and they got to put it back in. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah. Some of it tastes like grape juice, and so you do. I haven't found a good. I have found decent reds, but they're out of Spain.
You know,
so.
it's interesting. I used to feature when I had the gift basket business here. I didn't have. There wasn't Dialc was around. Ariel was the first one that I remember was from the '80s. It's still around, but I wouldn't sell it. So Castoral cellars in Paso would bottle White Zinfandel before it fermented.
Okay.
But the problem was it wanted to ferment.
Right. Yes.
Right, because it naturally wants
Yeah.
to do that, and so
Yeah.
he was my biggest problem is it was cork finish, glass bottle, $7.50, the whole thing, and it was kind of fun because you could uncork it and you poured this wonderful sort of sweet. And I just don't understand why that's not Dialc. Or why did it not just drink that than wine that's been removed? But that's not the point. Let me ask you this other question, and we'll wrap it up. We spend a lot of time at the beach in the South Bay here, and it's a very healthy lifestyle. I live in Arcadia. We live in the valley. Maybe it's because it's our daily routine. It doesn't feel like the lifestyle is healthy. Napa feels like it could be that lifestyle. Like if you lived in Napa, you lived in Yountville, that you're playing pickleball, you're going on walks. I know they've expanded bike trails throughout the valley.
Yes.
And is it starting to feel like that, or has it always been that way? The sort of the spa life.
No, it is going more toward that. There's yoga in the vineyards that you can do.
Really?
Sound baths. I mean, and you're going to start hearing more about it. Visit Napa Valley just brought someone on to be like a wellness ambassador.
Yeah.
And so they realize that's really where things are going.
Yeah, I can see
You
that.
have to have more than wine. I mean, I personally don't need any more
Yeah, well-
wine. Neither do you. Wine's fine. No, but you do have to have more.
You know what happens to me when I have these wonderful inspiration conversations? I start thinking about what I'm going to drink tonight.
Yeah.
I start like, when I go home, I'm going to have a Napa Valley cab, or am I going to have like a Bordeaux or whatever? So,
What are you going to have tonight?
I don't know. I'm a Burgundy guy,
Yeah.
but that's a very expensive habit. So-
Yes, it is. It is. And it's so amazing. I mean, it's like wine. How come wine is so expensive anyway?
Well, I didn't bring this up. We were talking about it briefly, but we visited a good friend of mine. His name was Chris Phelps. He made wine at Petrus. He was the Dominus winemaker when they first opened for 12 years. Makes wonderful Cabernets from Yountville, Sleeping Lady Vineyard. But they have that Bordeaux structure because of his experience.
Right.
And we're talking about it. I mean, the bottom line is if you want decent grapes, without getting into the boring metrics of the wine business, if you're paying $15,000 a ton, I mean, the rough sketches, you got to charge $150 a bottle.
Yeah, you do in a sense, but some people get away with less.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a guy who does custom crush at Alpha Omega. His wine is
really?
$65 a bottle.
Oh, that's great.
He doesn't do it to make money.
No,
He
well,
does
obviously.
it to donate to Alzheimer's.
Nobody does this to make money. You know
No,
this.
well, yeah, that exactly. You know the joke about that. But it sounds good and everything, and you have these trophy wines in your cellar that you never plan to open.
I know.
I go to people's cellars and I'm like, when are you going to open that? Oh no, I don't want to open it. I should just refill the bottle with coffee or something like that. Drink the wine.
No, it's a disease
It is
in that regard, and I never had it until I sold my company.
Yeah.
And they wanted none of what was in the cellar here, which I had collected during COVID and all these other things. And I mean, it ended up being like 2,500 bottles of wine. It's a lot. And there's some classified growth and Grand Crus and all that stuff are in there. And I get the mentality now, because if I open it, I don't have it anymore. If I don't open it, I never get to experience it.
And
so,
if you die before,
or you let it go too long.
Yes, that is the thing. It's like, oh my gosh.
So funny.
That's the worst. You uncork a bottle, you're all ready, and then it's like, should have opened it last year.
I will tell you, we were at a restaurant in Yountville. I won't tell you what it is because I'm sure it was just a fluke. I ordered a bottle of Rosso di Montalcino, and it had bubbles in it. And the waitress agreed. She goes, "Yeah, this got bubbles." So that came back to me from the GM saying, "That's the way those wines are."
No,
And I'm like, "That's
not
this is a heat
Rosso di
problem."
Montalcino, non è possibile.
You know, yes. See, I think you said that's impossible.
Yes, I did.
And I thought, I had to say something on the way out. They fixed it. They brought
Good.
something else, but I
Good.
said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've tasted a lot of wines, and roasted de Montalcino is not bubbly.
No.
It's just not the way it is. And that clearly is usually a heat problem.
Right.
It was stored properly.
Yeah.
So this has been such an honor and pleasure.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure.
And we haven't gotten to everything we want to talk about, but we can do it again. And we are in Napa quite a bit, in Yountville particularly.
Yeah, I'm right in Yountville. You'll see me. You'll see Thomas Keller pop out from behind me and welcome you.
Yeah, that's standard operating procedure, right? We all know this. And actually, the village, the Vintage Estate, or now the estate of Yountville, has a little upstairs office.
Yes.
They let me use
for
podcasting. So
good.
We could do that because there's too much to talk about, not only on camera, but off the camera.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, it's like, I think back to my, my basketball writing days, and you talk about Armenia, and I'm like, Tark the Shark. I look at you and I'm thinking of Jerry Tarkanian and all the fun I would have with him.
Well, his brother he just passed away, but he lived two doors down from me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, right here in Arcadia.
Oh, my goodness.
Myron Tarkanian was his name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And what's next? Are you going you have the weekend off? You're going to see friends, I think you said?
Tonight I'm going down to Newport Beach, and for my best friend who's high-powered sales exec. Anyway, she has to host some people in a suite, so she's like, come on down.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to go down there, and then I'm at a symposium tomorrow for head and neck cancer.
That's interesting.
I actually had...
You had that?
I had a rare cancer. I beat it.
Wow.
I'm here.
Before you went to Italy or when you got back?
2 years ago.
Oh, incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So.
And so you speaking or just going to listen in?
I'm listening. I did speak at UCSF, did a head and neck cancer patient symposium in August, and I was on the patient panel. I'm like their, I try to give
poster child.
Yes. I try to give people hope. You can have cancer and you can look like this afterwards and get on with your life.
You go.
And so I really try to be a support to others. And
that's excellent.
Yeah.
It's a very traumatic.
It is. It can be very traumatic. And that's another book that I'm writing too. It's on my first year of diagnosis. I was diagnosed in 2023 with a rare oral cancer that only 4 in 1 million people a year are affected with.
Well, that's really rare.
It is. I always thought I was 1 in a million.
Yeah, well.
And now 4 in a million.
Well, sorry, you can't have everything.
No.
Anyway.
But it's all about attitude, getting on and, soldiering on.
Well, we'll continue that conversation.
Yes.
Cheers.
Okay. Cheers to you.